Today is day one of the Christmas Craft Extravaganza and I need to make myself a Christmas t-shirt. So I picked out my 3 colours. Now I've just got to design the shirt and get it all cut out and print it up. So whilst I am designing up my design for my t-shirt, I thought I would quickly tell you about my Christmas Craft Extravaganza that I am doing. So every day for the month of December leading up to Christmas, I'm going to be doing a different Christmas craft each day to get my house all Christmassy and full of Christmas cheer. So I've got lots of different crafts planned. They are all beginner friendly. So if you would like to follow along and recreate them for yourselves, you are more than welcome. So the crafts will include different things like using the Cricut. I've got some beading projects, some polymer clay projects, as well as some sewing projects and a few other little fun things as well. So to make today's t-shirt, I have found my image on the Cricut Design Space and I'm using some HTV vinyl, which stands for Heat Transfer Vinyl. Some brands will refer to it as iron-on vinyl, so it's exactly the same thing, just a different name depending on which brand. So this is the type that you use to put on t-shirts because it is a little bit stretchy. So it has a little bit of give in it, so as you put your t-shirt on, you're not going to crack the image. So using HTV or iron-on vinyl is slightly different to using your normal adhesive vinyls. With a HTV, you don't need a transfer tape to transfer your image over to your shirt. This already comes built in within your vinyl, within your HTV vinyl. So we need to make sure that the coloured shiny side is down and we have the duller side on top. We also need to make sure that we hit the reverse button before sending it through to the machine. So it will reverse the image and cut it as a mirror image of itself. So I'm just going to let the machine work its magic and cut out my words now. I will need to change the vinyl on the mat for each different word that it needs to cut. So it's going to do the first word with some stars first, then I've changed it over to the second word. It will cut that out and then I'll do the third sheet for the third word. Okay, so I've got a top little tip here for removing any of your vinyls off of your mat is to always peel the mat away from the vinyl. This will help stop any bubbling happening on your vinyl and it will just remove a lot easier. So this red vinyl here was actually an absolute pain in the you-know-what. I could not see where the cuts were and I wasn't even sure if it had worked because I just could not see it. I was struggling to get this one weeded. It was not fun at all. And to be honest, I nearly just threw it away and was going to go with a different plan or I don't know. I was so frustrated with it. Eventually it started to peel away and I could see the words there, but it just was not peeling nicely. And I don't know why, because it's the Tech Wrap brand and I've used this before. I've also used it with the pink and the gold for this project and they peeled fine. It was just this red one. You can probably see the frustration in my face starting to occur. I'm like, is that actually even cut? I just couldn't even see a cut line. I mean, I'm not wearing my glasses, so I can't see properly. I probably should have put them on, but anyway. I am just trimming the sheet down as well. So by trimming the sheet, it helps to weed because you've not got quite as much to work with, and it means that I can put the sheet aside and it's perfectly good to use for another project another time. Although at this point I was like, I don't even know if I want to use this red, but I got there in the end. I will use the red again. So I eventually gave up on recording myself doing that red because I was just getting so frustrated. But here's a comparison. Here's the gold. The gold just came off so smoothly, just like butter. It just came off nicely. So I much preferred this gold to work with than the red. So something that I always like to do, regardless of what I'm cutting out, I always add the more pressure to the cut function. On that last screen before you send it through to the machine, there's the pressure at the top and it's always set to default. I always put it to more pressure. I find that it just helps to make sure that it is cut through the vinyl properly and just makes the weeding that little bit easier. So it didn't obviously help me much for the red, although maybe if I didn't do more pressure, it would have been even worse. So I'm glad I always select that. But yeah, this gold one just came off beautifully. Look at that. And it has such a beautiful shimmer to that gold as well, which, you know, we love our Christmas glitteriness. So it's absolutely perfect. Right, so this shirt, I wasn't 100% sure how it's going to transfer onto it. It has slight little ribbing, I suppose it is, pattern down it, so it's not completely smooth, but it's only really slightly. So I'm hoping that it's going to be fine for the shirt. As I say, it's just my Christmas shirt for this year. I will do another one for next year, so I'm just hoping that it'll be okay. I've put down my little protective mat here and just smoothing that shirt on so there's absolutely no wrinkles, and then I'm going to place the words down. Now, there could be a really fancy technical way to add each of your words on. This is how I like to do it. I am just pulling up on the computer screen there, I'm just pulling up the original image so I can just see how the words are laid out. And I just need to grab my scissors in a second and trim down these words as well, because that little, see the little like whirly bit of the H, it's going onto the plastic of the O. So just trimmed that down, and again for the fun as well, just to trim off the extra plastic so it can sit nicely on the shirt without overlapping. I find it so ironic as well that the word fun is the one that I had the least amount of fun with. I'm just going to trim the underneath of this one because we want it to be able to sit up nicely. I don't want it to be down too low. So that transfer tape that's on this is slightly tacky already, so it's not super sticky, but it's tacky enough that it's holding onto the shirt, so I can just reposition it if I need to. But there we go, that's all looking pretty good. Now I'm just going to add those little sparkly stars on. So again, just trimming those edges, making it fit in there nicely. And that was supposed to be a trio of stars as well, but because it was so painful, it ended up just being 1 star. But I think that that's okay. Nobody will know. Okay, and I just like to cover it with something as well before I start to iron it on. So I've just got that calico. I couldn't find my sheet of calico that I usually use. This is a calico bag, so it's a little bit thicker than what I would normally use, but I was just hoping that it would work, and it did. A tea towel will also work well as well. I probably should have just run in the kitchen and grabbed one. So I've just got the little mini heat press here. This one works really well. I do have a larger heat press, but I haven't got it out of the box yet. So yeah, I'm just going to use the little one. And if you don't have the specific little heat press, you can just use your iron. Just make sure it doesn't have steam on. Okay, so time for, I suppose, the reveal. Got to remove that plastic. So just slowly doing it. I'm just struggling one-handed here, but very slowly, just making sure that it is all stuck down properly. If anything starts to lift, just go back over it with the iron until it sits down nicely. So I did let it cool down a bit first before I remove this as well, so I don't burn my fingers on the plastic. There we go, peel it off. and I am super happy with how this has turned out. Really happy, and that little ribbing on the t-shirt didn't actually matter. It hasn't really affected it at all. So very happy with how it is, and now I have a nice new t-shirt. So thank you for joining me today. Be sure to come back tomorrow and see day 2 of my Christmas craft extravaganza. Thanks for coming along, guys, and I'll see you tomorrow. Bye.